Good afternoon.
Well, hello, Chris. Oh, you know, it just is afternoon, isn't it?
I had to check, Becky. I had to check. Good to do. And hello, everybody else. We're back with another command. Last time we did some cooking. That was a pre-Christmas one, wasn't it?
Yeah, we made reindeer cupcakes. They were really quite fun, weren't they? We got some lovely photos as well.
They were really fun and really nice. We've moved this one back earlier because we've realised that a number of people aren't at school, and this is something you can do in the middle of the day, isn't it? And it's really nice, and you can share it later.
Absolutely.
So, Becky, we're going to do some craft and printing today. Is that right?
We are going to do some craft and some printing, and we've got the girls to help us again. So we've got Caitlin.
Caitlin. Hello, Caitlin.
Hi, hello. Caitlin. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
We've got Poppy and Daisy.
Hi.
Amy and Margaret. Hello. Nice to see you all.
Hello.
See you.
Since I'm not an artistic person at all, I've got Richard to do this. So he's coming. Come on, here we are. Richard is going to sort this one out for us. This is an artistic one. So I'm going to move out of the way and he's going to tell you what to do.
Brilliant. Thank you. Oh, and just before we go, just to say, if when you're doing this and you think afterwards, I can't remember, on the video description, there are instructions on exactly how to do this. So you can have the instructions and watch Richard do. I just thought, remind you, you can get your full instructions on the video description on Facebook. But over to Richard, sorry.
Hi, Chris. Hello, girls.
Hi.
Hello, everybody. So what we're going to do today is a little learning perhaps a new technique called bubble wrap printing. We're going to be printing using bubble wrap. I know that bubble wrap's a favorite with everyone for going along and popping it, but we're going to find a new and perhaps more artistic and practical use for it today. We're going to learn it as a technique, and we'll probably be able to end the video with something that we've made, something small. But the primary purpose of this session is to learn how to do it, and then to go off and do as much experimenting with different things to get different effects from this printing in your own time. It's something that you can learn and play whenever you've got a moment and an inclination to do it. So the core components of what we're doing require us to have some bubble wrap, of course. We need some paint because we're going to use the paint as our printing medium. And we need something to print onto, whether it's paper or a card or something like that. And to begin with, we're going to use some scrap paper just to learn the printing techniques. But it's not just a case of putting some paint on bubble wrap and then pressing it down on the paper. Oh no, we've got to have something to support the bubble wrap. And that's where the interest comes in this technique, because we can try and attach the bubble wrap to all sorts of different shapes and sizes of object and reproduce their form with the bubble wrap pattern on our printed image. So we've got a number of different things that we could use. We've got a jam jar, and you could attach the bubble wrap to the bottom of a jam jar. Most of these things can be attached either with some sellotape or with a rubber band. We're going to use rubber bands today because it's quicker and easier, and it's easy to pop them off again. But you can put the bubble wrap on a jam jar, and that would give you a nice big round printing image. We've also got a little square metal box, so you could put the bubble wrap on the square metal box and make a shape like that, a rectangular shape, and print shapes like that. Or we've used in our trials, we've got a spice jar, which is a small round shape. Today my helpers have all got their own little blocks of wood and pieces of pipe to give us small square sections and round shapes that I found in my workshop. But you know, it's part of the fun is to find shapes and sizes of things and see how they print up and see what they do to help to build either a pattern, an abstract image, or to actually make a picture out of block shapes, you know, like a bit like fuzzy felts used to be when we were younger. So you can make all sorts of shapes just from some basic patterns. So that's the kind of the materials that we're going to use. We're going to try and make a card today. Once we've learnt the technique, we're going to make a little card with a printed picture on it. But then as the worksheet says, if you download the worksheet, you can see that you're going to make things like wrapping paper. If you've got a big sheet of brown paper or a big sheet of white paper, you can print the pattern all over it and then use that to wrap a present in. So, you know, we can go from very small to very large images with this technique. It's all down to your imagination. What we have to first of all do is make a shape, a block with our bubble wrap. So we start by attaching the bubble wrap to the shape that we're going to use. Now I'm going to use, and I suggest that maybe girls, for the purposes of practicing, you use the little wooden block. And what we need to do is we've got to put it onto the, put the bubble wrap onto the block with the smooth side of the bubble wrap on the side facing the block. So if you look at the bubble wrap carefully, you can see that it's only bubbles on one side. It's a plain sheet on the back. So we want that plain surface against the block, and you just wrap it round the block. Don't pull too tight, but pull quite firmly, but not too tight. If you pull too tight, you'll pop the bubbles. But just pull the thing so it's nice and fairly smooth surface on the block. Whoops, daisy. There we go.
I've put mine around there like that, look.
Oh, look what Becky's done. She's made like a little sweetie. That's a clever idea. Why didn't I forget that?
The elastic band around the spare bit.
Well, that's a very good idea. It's not artistic, but you know what? So, girls and everyone, really, get your scrap paper, a piece of just a piece of plain white paper, something that is not going to get damaged by this, but just something where you can learn and practice. And what we do is we're using watercolors. Can try using different types of colors, but watercolors is safe because it's easy to clean off afterwards. We're going to get our brush that we've wet in the water, and we're going to nearly dry it. So dab it a little bit on some kitchen paper because we don't want too much. We don't want a watery paint. It's got to be quite thick. And then we take our paint palette and we choose a color that we want to use. And I'm going to use this bright orange on my palette. And you just kind of work it to soften the paint. It'll take some time before you get a really good amount of paint on the brush. So it's not like when you're painting a picture with watercolors where you can just, you know, sort of get some paint on and then start painting. You really want to try and get a good thick color on your brush and not much water. And once you've done that, once you're at that stage, you can then just over the surface of your printing surface of your block with your bubble wrap, just using the brush sideways, just brush until you've covered all the bubbles. And it won't stick very well because that's one of the challenges with this this material, bubble wrap, is it's made of polythene and it doesn't really take paint very well to start with. But what you do is you then get some more paint on your brush and you just keep working, putting more and more paint on the bubbles until you look as though you've got a fair amount of ink, paint.
Does that look about right, Richard? Look, you can see it's going a bit red on my bubbles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the best way to see whether it's right, Chris, is on your scrap paper now.
Yeah.
Just lightly, not too lightly, not too delicately, but certainly don't press. Just lightly pop your pad down onto the paper. And that's what's happened with mine.
It's mine there.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's quite useful. Right. It's quite good to do it in practice, and then you think that's roughly how much I need. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Now, unlike with ink printing, you know, like with a rubber stamp, you can't really do another one. It just doesn't take this. Oh, look at that! Is that Poppy?
That's Caitlin. That is. I recognise the jumper.
Caitlin, yes. That's great, Caitlin. That's exactly what we're looking for. So
perfect.
Thank you. Thank you, Caitlin.
Oh, there's Poppy and Daisies. Is that
Oh yeah, look, yeah, everybody's. Do you know the first time I did this, I made such a mess of it because the paint was so runny.
That's
So
brilliant.
you girls have done this. Have you done it before?
No, I haven't.
Girls, have you done it before?
No.
Brilliant.
That's really good.
So you've learned a lot faster than I have. And the thing,
they're young, you know.
I think it's your great instructions, Richard.
yeah, right. Thank you, Chris. So try it again. Put some more paint on. Nice and thick. Nice, sort of like that. You see, and then just try another print just to sort of see. And yeah, I mean, it's starting to look quite reasonable. What you've not got to do is press too hard because you'll pop the bubbles, as I say, but you'll also squidge any.
I'm really proud of that, Richard.
Yeah, that's good, Chris.
I'm genuinely very proud of myself.
Well, I think we're going to be able to move on to making a picture much quicker than I had anticipated, which is great. So now what we can do, again, because the paint doesn't stick to the polythene very much, we can wipe it.
Yeah, that's much better than I just done.
So we can actually wipe the paint off, or most of it, so that we could use that same setup for another colour. But we won't do that now. I think you've got the gist of how to do this. So if you want to try another shape, by all means do so. They all present different challenges. Let's just try quickly, girls, if we can, to do the little pipe. And the idea with this is not, as Chris thought before we started this, to wrap the bubble wrap round the pipe and then roll it. Although, by all means, try it. Let's experiment. But you'll get very messy fingers because it's not like a rolling pin where you've got handles at either end. So my idea was that we would put the bubble wrap over the end, and that would give us a sort of a circular shape. You'll only get about 3 bubbles this size of pipe, but if you use a jam jar, you'll get a lot more. I'll show you some examples of things I've done with other shapes in a minute, but have a go just with the little pipe for a minute, girls, and see how that works for you. Try a different color if you want to.
I was just going to say, Richard, I had to be really remember that I needed to wash my brush.
Oh, yes.
Between changing colours, otherwise the colours all mix together, don't they?
Well, the paint tray gets a little bit messy after a while.
It does. It does.
Mine is very sort of, spread a little.
I tell you what's happening with me, the bristles are coming out of my brush a little bit as well. I don't think that matters, does it?
No, it won't matter. I mean, you have to pick them out, but
I'm going to have a go. I'm going to have a go with this one, see if this works.
So just again, the same thing.
I think, Richard, one of the things I noticed, I just had a go. I think mine was too wet when I did it. I forgot to dry it off enough. So when I was going over the bubbles, it was actually too wet, and it just you didn't. Oh, someone's got a great picture there. Look at that.
Oh, look at that.
Fantastic.
Who's that? Is that Poppy?
Is that Poppy or Daisy?
Oh,
That's mine.
It's Poppy.
it's Poppy. That's
like that.
brilliant, Poppy.
It looks as though Poppy's worked out. Oh, look at Caitlin as well. They've worked out where the bubbles sit.
Did you see the bubble in the middle? Yeah.
So you finish up with like a rosette shape. That's really clever. I like that.
So,
Wow.
so I think you've got it, girls. I think you've got it.
The brown paper.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you quickly before we go on to the brown paper. These are things that I've done in the last couple of days. David, can you come up to me? Just there we go. So you can see different shapes and sizes, different colours. We've got a little strip thing here, a little strip of wood, but you can use the edge of a ruler or anything, and that way you can print lines, just a single row of bubbles, like there, as well as the shapes. And also, if you stamp the shapes together, this is one Becky did, you can make a little forest of trees. And you can draw in the trunks of the trees if you don't want to print them. This one is some flowers, whether you can see that. And you can see I've used an edge to make the, what's this side? You can see I've used an edge to make a little green stem there. And you see I've used different colours as well. And so I used, on this one, I used a very large, it's a jam jar, I think, bottom of a jam jar, and then a smaller jar of a different colour superimposed afterwards. So the sky's the limit. The other thing I did was I tried painting different colours on a single imprint. So I put some bubble wrap on my jam jar, and I painted a circle around the edge in one colour, and then painted the middle a different colour. So you see all sorts of things you can do.
So shall we have a go? See if we give ourselves 3 or 4 minutes to see what effects we can create, Richard.
Yeah. Let's do that, and then after that we'll start to work on a little card.
Yeah.
And then we'll let you sort of go, and you can all go and do things, experiment, and then send us the results. Send us pictures of what you've done to show us, and inspire others.
On when we're looking at the card, we get into the card, Richard. I'm beginning to think about that. The paper we've got is a bit shiny on one side. Do we use the shiny or the unshiny side of the brown paper?
No, we're going to use the dull side.
And the dull side,
it's on the instruction sheets to do that. And the idea of doing it on a separate piece of paper, thank you, David, that's great. Doing it on a separate piece of paper is that card is a little bit more expensive, a little bit more precious. So we make the picture, and then when we feel happy with it, we might have to make 2 or 3 before we get a good one. Then we can stick the good one onto our card.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like that idea. I reckon we might be able to start on the card soon. Do you think, Richard?
I think so. I think so. So while you're sort of just playing around a little bit, here's a splodgy one that I made that has got blobs of orange and then blobs of green over the top. So again, you can sort of, another experiment is to overprint, print one color all over, and then put random distributed blobs of
colours on,
different shapes, different sizes. Okay, so how are we doing, girls?
How are we getting on? Let's have a look at some of the ideas. Let's see what I'm going to start on my card now, Richard. I think I'm going to have a go. Yeah, I like that, Caitlin.
Caitlin, that's great. See thumbs up from Daisy.
Oh wow!
Great. So now what we're going to do is, this is where we have to get a little bit more precise, a little bit more careful, because we've only got a little piece of paper to print on. So find, girls, your little brown piece of paper.
You got any spare?
I think there's one more in the box. Yeah. And what we're looking for is the not shiny side. We're going to print on the dull side.
On the not shiny
brown paper?
Yep.
Okay. So now it's down to you. Whatever you want to do creatively to make a pattern. Or a picture, and just go for it, as Becky says. See what you can produce.
I think my key reflection that the tip that you gave me, which is really good, Richard, is to not let it get too wet, isn't it? I think where I've struggled, and that's why it's been helpful to do a bit of practicing, is where I've struggled is where I've let it get too wet. Yeah. So I think I need to keep. That's the kitchen towel is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just keep dabbing your brush. Certainly, when you wash the brush, scrape as much of it off, as much water off on the edge of the glass as you can, your pot. Yeah. As you can, but then dry the brush a little bit more on some kitchen paper.
The other thing I've realised is because I've got quite a big bit of bubble wrap, I don't need to keep taking. I can have 2 on at one time.
Yeah.
And I don't have to keep taking it off. As long as I've got enough elastic bands, I could just get the blocks on, and I could use it that way. Then, couldn't I? Really, to help me.
And what I've been doing with the tube is I haven't even used the elastic band. I've just held the paper on because it's a convenient shape to hold.
It is, yeah. It helps. Yeah, something to hold on to is quite useful. I'm going to have a go.
So I can't resist making trees. I don't know what it is about me with trees, but look, I've done that. So it's just one sort of on the end of my spice jar, and then I just use my scrubby brush with the brown paint to make the tree trunk. Looks a bit like a volcano.
Tree. I'm liking that, Becky. Where are we up to, folks? Where are we up to, other people?
How are we doing?
They're too busy to show us.
I think there probably is.
Aiden's got something.
I think that's lovely.
I'm trying to make a tree, but
I think the tree seems a good idea, doesn't it, Caitlin?
Mm-hmm.
Except I realise I've gone for red berries on my tree. It's obviously a winter tree that has no leaves, but just red berries.
One thing you can do is if you want to make a bigger tree than you've got the shape, you can put the blobs, multiple blobs all together, you know, side by side, and
print it at the top of your.
I did that and it didn't work ever so well, but you know, that's me.
I think, but the thing about this is, the more I practice, the better I'm going to get at this. I think
that's exactly right, Chris.
I'm feeling very, he says ever so confidently. I think this is an app. I wonder if anybody else at home, if you're watching this and you're watching this later, whether you've done this and you've had a go at this, and you might want to send them. We'd love to see your pictures. If you just share them onto this Facebook page, you could show us the things that you've done, and we'd love to see your pictures.
That would be great.
As always. Oh yeah, so here we go. This is, I've got something that it's probably not going to look as impressive as I think it does, but you're beginning to see a bit of light. You've got beginning of a tree. You've got the little red berries at the top, and you've got a trunk coming down. It's like the holly tree over in my neighbour's garden.
Yeah.
I've stuck mine on now.
And I could work on, and I could put bits around it a little bit later on once we've kind of a look at yours, Becky, where you stuck it on.
What I was thinking was that I could put little red felt pen blobs on that, and that would make it look like an apple tree.
Yeah, I might have to put green things on to make mine look. Has anybody else got one that they've got? How far you've got? Can we see how far you've got? Let's have a look. Oh, I love that.
Oh yes,
that's such a good bit. That's fantastic.
Great. Well done, Daisy.
That's brilliant. I love that.
That's great.
How are you getting on, Caitlin? Let's have a look.
Yeah,
that's coming on, isn't it? That's great.
Thanks.
I realised that the other day, Richard, we've got in our house, we got some big stuff with some big bubble wrap. So if I wanted to do the big sheet of wrapping paper, I could actually get quite a big block with the enormous bubbles on, couldn't I? And use the same technique.
And use the biggest shape you can as well.
Yeah.
The only limiting factor with that is that obviously the paint dries over, you know, so if you've got a great big surface and you're painting it, by the time you get to one end of it, the other end's dry.
Yeah.
So it's kind of finding the balance. But you know, that's what it's all about. It's finding out, isn't it? It's experimental. We've got some stuff here, you know, on bigger sheets.
Bigger sheets. Yeah, let's have a look. Oh, lots of repeat patterns. Yeah.
Yeah. Just repeat patterns. You can do, you know, anything you like in regard to the shapes that do this, you know, in a pattern like that.
I love it. I love a bit of printing. This is really good.
This is one I prepared earlier. It sort of has a certain sort of Pizarro feel about it. I just blocked the bottom with green and blocked the top with blue. Yeah. And then I used an edge to make the a sort of a fence or hedge here, and then a tree to one side. So
we got, can I see Daisy and Poppy? So
look at that.
The flowers.
That's Poppy, isn't it?
Is that Poppy?
Like a whole bouquet of flowers. That's beautiful.
That's a beautiful bouquet of flowers, isn't it? Isn't it fantastic? Yeah. I'm so looking forward to having more practicing with this, and I'm going to share my picture with you all online a little bit later.
Excellent.
Got to be our strategy, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's have a final look at yours, Caitlin, for the moment, as far as it's got. Is that all right? Yeah, we go.
Oh yeah.
And I think if we take pictures of these, we can post them, can't we? And we can show each other what we've done. I think I might need to do colours other than brown on my brown paper. I'm not sure that was my wisest decision.
On that point, Chris, on brown paper, if you try to print yellow, it doesn't look as though it's going on at all. When because it wets the paper. But when it dries, I don't know whether you can see my sun up there. Look, it does dry really quite nicely.
Oh, fantastic! So
I think that's great, isn't it?
That's a really great technique. I've got to keep talking whilst this is very hard to keep doing this whilst I'm just being distracted. Becky, do you want to tell us what's happening next, Becky?
I will tell you what's happening next. On the 18th of February, we're going to do Come and Cook. Again, we seem to like cooking, don't we? And we're going to make cheesy whirls, and I've made some to show you. Oops, I really lost that one. And you'll make 12 of those, and they're cheesy whirls. And 18th of February, we're not quite sure what time, but we'll let everybody know. So that's our plan for the next one.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. We like that, and we're going to keep doing these online until we can all get back in the room together, aren't we? Really?
Yeah.
It has to be said. We're loving this. So please do share these with other people that you know. These videos, these ideas. We're just going to say we're going to go. We'll probably come back to Becky and me at the end because that's how we normally end it, isn't it, Becky? But we're going to say huge thanks to Richard for demonstrating this and putting this all together. Final thanks to Daisy and Poppy. Thanks, Daisy and Poppy. Let's hold them up. Just have one more look. Let's have one more look. Yay, fantastic. Brilliant. Thank you. See you soon. See you soon. Keep safe.
Bye.
Final look at Caitlin's. Caitlin, fantastic.
Oh, lovely.
That's fantastic. Take care. See you soon, Caitlin.
Bye.
Bye. And then we're back. We're back where we started, Becky.
Wow, that was fun, wasn't it?
That was fun. Really, really enjoyed that. We will do share it. We'll see you in about a month's time. And take care. And remember, the key is, if you can't remember the instructions, you can go back and watch them. But there's also the worksheet, the instruction sheet that there is on our Facebook page as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Have fun with this. Show us what you make. Can't wait to see. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.